Hi, I'm Kris Bakke with Nasco Education, and I have Angie Szabo, high school art teacher at Fort Atkinson, with me today. And we're talking a little bit about adaptive art. It's fair to say that it's a concept that's constantly evolving.
For sure. We're always learning new things about students and what abilities they possess. There's always new tools like the ones here that are coming out for us to play with and try. So
Perfect.
Definitely.
Well, good. The reason that we're having this session is because at NAEA, Annie Dudgeon, high school art teacher from Beloit Turner High School in Beloit, Wisconsin. I feel like I just said Beloit 14 times, but that's okay. Annie takes her classroom and 2 times a year she flips it in an adaptive style, which is so impressive because instead of students that have a special need adapting to their environment, everybody is adapting to a special need environment. And so they get to learn about the tools and the different situations that a student might find themselves in. Honestly, I've been in the class when they've done it, and you come away like changed. Like it's a life-changing experience because you see a lot of compassion, you see a lot of frustration, like, oh, this is really hard, and you know, you talk about imagine that on a daily basis and what people are dealing with. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the tools. These are some tools that Annie shared that she uses in her classroom, but she's really pretty inventive too. She takes a canvas and hangs shells on it so that a student can sort of feel where the shells are, but then they can take the paint and then use the shells to sort of move it around.
Oh,
it's
nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We're going to actually include a link to a flyer and more about Annie's story on here as well. So let's talk a little bit about these tools. So these big sort of handheld texture tools are great because they have a handle and a student can just put it on their hand and then put it in the paint and make the textures. And so there's a wide variety of textures that you can do and sort of sponge ones, and I think they're really helpful.
I agree. I've had a lot of students that have issues with grip and hand control, and this is nice because they don't have to have any grip at all, and they can have a little bit of arm control and still be able to utilize it. I think these are really, really handy.
There is an art teacher in the Eau Claire La Crosse area, Kathy Barris, who often thinks of a tool that not as adaptive, but just an all-inclusive tool. And so it's not as if this is just a special need tool, like everybody can use that. And I kind of love that style of thinking too. These are also some more texture tools, and they have a little bit of a different handle. It's texturized, but it also helps in terms of a grip and being able to hold it however you can. On that same note, though, I don't know if you've heard of this sort of famous hack of using model magic. You can either take a brush or a pencil or a marker, and so you sort of roll it up and kind of flatten it out a little bit, and then you wrap it around the pencil and get it so that like you're actually making a pencil grip, but then you actually have the student grasp it, and maybe they have a very hard grip, maybe they have an interesting, like method of holding 2-finger, 3-finger, maybe for whatever reason they don't use it like that at all, but this is going to match their grip. So once they've squeezed it, you put it away, let it dry, and then when they come back, every time they use that pencil, it matches, it's personalized.
Well, and this is the first time I've seen that, and I think it is genius because you could use it on paintbrushes. You wouldn't need to have a whole host of adapted materials in your room. You can adapt what you already have to fit student needs. And I could see this with, I have some tools that are hard for some kids to hold because they're skinny, and they're not students that have special needs, but having this as an option for them is wonderful.
Absolutely, and Model Magic, not very expensive. So the other one that I wanted to tell you a little bit about is the Fatal Vision goggles. This is normally in health, PE. It quite honestly tells kids, when you're impaired by alcohol, your vision is going to be impaired. This is sort of a feeling that you might have. And instead, though, it talks about a visual impairment. And so it would, as you try to draw or paint with the goggles, you kind of get a little bit of an understanding. I'm going to need to take those off, though.
They look so good on you, though.
So talk to me a little bit about the things that you're seeing and how this is evolving in your classroom.
Sure. I see a lot of students come into my classroom with a lot of different needs. Some of them are physical, some emotional, and some are cognitive. We talked a lot about the physical needs that students come in and the differences there. Cognitively, if you're in education, you know about IEPs and needing to meet the needs of different students who learn in different ways. So when I present, I try to present to lots of different learning modalities. I'll pre-write notes for students. I'll post presentations so kids can go back to them, or videos. Anything that you can give a student to review, reflect, or think more about, I think is really important. What I focus on a lot in my classroom and what is really important to me in my heart as a teacher are the social and emotional needs that I'm seeing my students come in with. It's K-12, it's in college, I think our adult population.
Kind of more than ever with the whole social media stuff, too.
Yeah, it digs in. So every day when my kids come into the classroom, I meet them at the door, I welcome them, and I try to gauge where they are. If I feel like something's off, I always make sure I touch base with that student and talk about what's happening and try to get them whatever help it is. And sometimes it's just somebody noticing and asking, and I think that means a lot. And my students know that I'm there for them and that who they are as a person is more important than whatever lesson I'm teaching that day.
I love that. Thank you. I love how both you and Annie sort of approach it as a whole student, sort of mind, body, and soul. It shows how much you care, and it's not just you and Annie out there, it's so many art educators. And so for that, the whole idea of adaptive art is important to us, not only with the tools that we can offer, but the support that we can offer within the community. So we hope that you will share your ideas with us. You can post them on Nasco Art Education Facebook page. Please feel free to reach out to me at kbakke@nascoeducation.com. We can make connections. If you have any questions for Angie Szabo or for Annie Dudgeon, feel free to send your email to me and I will make that connection. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you for making art work for all students.